So this has been a useful framing for me. And I don't know that it's true, but it definitely feels true. When we look outside in the world, everywhere you look, there's endless Darwinian struggle, right? Fucking everywhere, like between humans, between animals, between the earth and animals, earth and like we're just struggling to survive all the time. You could almost define life as a struggle to survive. That's just
Hmm.
what it is. Well, somewhat obvious now in retrospect, but that same thing is happening inside your body. Like you are a city of microorganisms, and you're not just one. We think we're just one big organism, but man, your microbiome, like there's trillions of little theaters of Darwinian combat playing out in there, but their life cycles are much quicker. They'll have whole dynasties live and die in a couple of days. So what I started to do is like treat it like that. Like I'm trying to basically bring in the nutritional cavalry every day. I'm trying to bombard myself with probiotics, trying to eat right, get sunshine, move the body, sweat, and stay away from the things that feed the bad guys, which for me were sugar mostly. Sugar, caffeine. Actually, I had to quit caffeine too. I
Mm.
gave up alcohol for 18 months. All of those things helped, but sugar was the big culprit for me.
Mm.
Yeah. And what's fascinating to that point too is we just have no understanding as a society as to how to actually read a nutrition label. Like we
Mm.
look at things in terms of calories, we look at them at, macronutrients, protein, carbs, fats. But like you're saying, it sounds like everything started to change when you started to take a look at the micronutrient content and
Mm.
choosing these foods that were filling you with as many vitamins and minerals and nutrients as possible. And those are all the foods that are demonized by society. You mentioned before we hit record, you were like, damn, like I wish I just listened to myself intuitively when I was a
Mm.
kid because I love steak, I love milk, I loved
Mm.
eggs. And
Yeah.
then I'm being told that these things are terrible for me. And then you start reintroducing them and your gut's in the best shape that it's been in years.
Yes. A couple of caveats though. So you mentioned the food labels. I don't like pretty much every food with a label has seed oils in it. I mean,
Yep.
that's probably not exactly true, but it's pretty damn close. So like
Mm-hmm.
when you try to start cutting out seed oils, I mean, that's when you go in the grocery store, most foods have a label, right? Well, that means most foods have seed oils.
Totally.
Uh, so that you have to get so radical, I guess. You can't just half-ass this. You don't really make progress. And then with the milk, I have to drink raw milk. I can't drink homogenized, pasteurized, off the shelf milk. That doesn't agree with me. I think it's because it lacks the enzymes. There's a healthier enzymatic profile in raw milk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? The state has intervened in that market pretty significantly. It's really hard to find raw milk. You're not going to get it at the grocery store unless you live in, I think, in Arizona and a couple of other states. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
legal. Here, even in Tennessee, we had to drive an hour. You had to go to this website. I can't recall the website, but Paul Saladino.
Realmilk.com.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Paul Saladino talks a lot about it. We got on the website last week when we arrived in Nashville. We had to trade emails with a number of farmers, finally find one that wasn't at full capacity. And then we had to drive an hour to this farm to get the milk. Like it's a big pain in the ass to go
Yep.
get the healthy food. So, um, although it would be as simple as just adopting the farm diet, there's all these impediments now, legally, I guess, between individuals that want to eat healthy and eat ancestrally and actually being able to do it.
Yeah, the availability of all this stuff is part of the issue. Is you're saying like we had Joel Salatin on the podcast, and he's like the godfather of regenerative agriculture, talking about building vertically integrated food systems on his farm, and he provides a ton of nutritious food for his community in Virginia. But he's like, if they just drop the regulatory red tape around the food system, these farmers could do what they are actually in place to do, which is provide as much value with the skill set that they have and provide the most nutritious food. But since there's so many regulations in a lot of these states, like raw milk is the perfect example.
Mhm.
Like that is a food that is full of nutrients, and it's honestly easy to make and consume if you're, have available pasture. It's like how that's not legal in most states is actually a complete shame.
It's and I mean, I think it would be extremely cheap too if you'd rip out all the red tape, because these cows are producing like 5 to 7 gallons per day of raw
Yeah.
milk,
Yeah.
each cow, and they're just eating grass. Like look how abundant grass is in certain parts of the world, like Tennessee. Grass is everywhere. Just turn the cows loose and milk them,
Yeah.
and
That's the most.
it's delicious. It is unbelievably delicious. Like when you drink it, every cell in my body is singing.
Mhm.
And it would be very cheap in theory. And it just, I don't know, on that drive to the farm, I'm just, in my mind, like, I can't believe this is another one of those parts of life where government has just fucked it up for everybody.
Yeah, we literally right before we recorded this episode, we had on Dr. Bill Schindler, who's an anthropologist and archaeologist. So he has a really interesting lens in terms of how he views nutrition. And one of the things he mentioned is regardless of meat, fruits, vegetables, carnivore versus vegan, the one indisputable food for humans is raw breast milk that we're given as babies.
Mhm.
And you think about that's the one true food that we're meant to consume. And then you see all these incredible benefits of consuming raw bovine milk, like you're talking about, the lactase, the digestive enzymes, and these things are just demonized. And like we look at these things as red tape, and they're acting like they're trying to protect you as a consumer, but it's really just red tape for the sake of having red tape. And it's just so interesting to explore that.
Isn't that everything government does, though? It's
Yes.
always for our safety, right? They're printing
Yes.
money for our safety. They're homogenizing the milk for our safety. They're putting us in lockdown for our safety. Like they're all government action. If we get into the Mises view on this, first of all, it's all a misallocation of capital because nobody wants it. That's by definition what government action is. It's coercive. But then it's also just so you're misallocating capital with government action, but you're also just I don't know, breaking down the fabric of trust in the world. Like you're what's the word? Infantilizing people, right? To always have this nanny state watching out for you, and you're just supposed to trust this organization to make all the right decisions for you. It disables people. It's taking people's skin out of the game so they can't actually deal with life as it is.